New York, in Norway, what is well known as? You can see it
the Big Apple.
In the big stores. The Big Apple, det store eplet.
Have you ever wondered why New York is called the Big Apple, or when it became known as the Big Apple? Was New York's apple groves and apple vendors the reason for the nickname, or was it due to a supposed brothel in the late 1800s? Can you imagine New York with any other kind of nickname like Yellow Cab City or the Great City? Me either. You'll be surprised to know that the nickname didn't start here in New York, nor was it a smooth transition into becoming New York's official nickname.
Vibeke Hornbakken. The nickname Big Apple, where it came from? No.
The year was 1920. John J. Fitzgerald, an up-and-coming horse track rider for a New York Morning Telegraph, headed down to the horse tracks of Fairgrounds in New Orleans in hopes to sell his horse. It was during this trip when he first heard the phrase used. Fitzgerald then made a casual reference of the Big Apple on May 3, 1921. But it was only in 1924 when he brought it out to the forefront by naming his column Around the Big Apple. And then he explained the phrase. The Big Apple, the dream of every lad that ever threw a leg over a thoroughbred, and the goal of all horsemen. There is only one Big Apple, and that's New York City. It makes you wonder, what would we call New York City if he would have never went down to New Orleans? No?
The Big Apple, the nickname is known, in Norway, but I don't think anyone's really thought about the history behind the nickname, but it's very well known.
Even though Fitzgerald's column stopped in 1927, the Big Apple phrase was just beginning to pick up steam. Walter Winchell used the same phrase in his own column in 1927 when he was referring to Broadway. But it was the jazz scene of the 30s and 40s, starting with the musicians in Harlem, that really put the catchphrase into general circulation, with much of the credit going to the great band leader Fletcher Henderson.
The downward spiral of Harlem's jazz scene was just the beginning of some very dark times for New York City. By the time the 50s rolled around, New York City's nickname, the Big Apple, had begun to fade away. And by the 60s, it was all but forgotten. In fact, in 1966, during newly elected mayor John Lindsay's first days, despite New York's current image, he declared that he still thought that New York was a fun city. This gave New York the Fun City as a new nickname. But it was short-lived because in 1971, with New York City now nearing bankruptcy and with the newly appointed president of New York Convention and Visitors Bureau, Charles Gillette, a most ambitious campaign was launched. Not only was the Big Apple revived by Gillette, but it was also married to the I Love New York logo. Somehow, I don't think this is going away anytime soon.
Which brings us back to Fitzgerald and how, with a push from Barry Poppick, the city of New York officially recognized the important role that Fitzgerald played in bringing the Big Apple nickname to our city. they dedicated a sign on 54th and Broadway to Fitzgerald, naming the corner Big Apple.